back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about Paper Cuts by Mark Platt. It's been a while since we've talked about a Mark Platt story. He tackled a lot of the audio dramas that we did for the first Doctor era. So it's been a long while coming that we get back to him. He's done a lot of audio dramas, but a lot of people might know him from the one TV story he wrote, Ghostlight. By the way, note to self, go watch Ghostlight, you will not be disappointed. You'll be confused as all hell, but you won't be disappointed. Ghostlight's fantastic, go listen to it. This is the second story in a loose trilogy, the Mina trilogy, in which Charlie Pollard's the companion of the Sixth Doctor during this time, who was originally a companion of the Eighth Doctor, but then she found the Sixth Doctor and travelled with him as this mysterious companion who the Doctor didn't know her origin story. And in the previous story, we learned that Mina has infected Charlie with this virus, which has made her invisible and nobody can hear her. And Mina has taken the form of Charlie. I was a bit surprised to learn that this story has very little to do with the overall arc, especially how it's sandwiched between two Viren stories. It's really strange like that. It reminds me a lot of the Christopher Nolan Batman films, where you've got, where the first and last ones are so heavily connected with the Ra's al Ghul plot, and then the middle one we've just got like a completely separate entity. And really the only way this story really connects is that it's Mina, but not the real Charlie. And that's not even a big part of the plot, as in this story, the Doctor never learns of Mina's true identity. So, yeah, it's when people say it's a trilogy, it's more of just this story takes place right after it. Right after the last story, Patient Zero. This was the first time I listened to this, and if this video becomes a bit rambly and a bit nonsensical, I do apologise. It's for two main reasons. One, this is the first time I'm listening to this. This was the first time I've heard this story before, and I do kind of struggle sometimes to get my opinion out on stories I've just listened to. And secondly, I wasn't a particular fan of this one, personally. I don't know. This story also reintroduced the Draconians that originally appeared in the Third Doctor TV series, Frontier in Space. I think it's on... No, it's not. Is it Frontier in Space? I can't remember. That's pretty bad. Somebody's going to shout at me in the comments below. I know it. Yeah. And they've appeared in Big Finish before. However, they've appeared in the Bernie Summerfield spin-off series. And this is actually their first time in performed media since that particular story that they have reappeared, which is really surprising because the Draconians are a very popular race. They're up there with the Zygons, Sutek, and all these other characters which a lot of people really liked, and there's a huge fan base for them, but they never got really the time to shine until like many years later. The Axons are another race you can put in that list. A lot of Third Doctor villains, now that I think about it. This is the official Big Finish CD cover, which is really nice. And like always, I printed, this one I actually put together myself, is the DVD cover, which I've actually done something a little bit different. Instead of taking the just the picture and putting it on there, I kind of use some of the promotional images. It doesn't quite work. There's some bits where you can clearly see I've kind of copped off the images, but the colour palette on it, look at that, it's stunning. In the story, despite it not showing on the cover, in the booklet it comes with, it explains that the Doctor wears this very formal costume, which I think works a lot better. He's got a blue jacket, which is different from his original, but he's got like the stripy trousers, which are now grey instead of yellow. So I think that's really cool. You got the Draconians there, and that's the thing as a side if anyone is interested. Oh, very nice. And then we've got the back. Oh, very nice. So the story picks up right after the cliffhanger of Patient Zero, with the Doctor and Mina, in disguised as Charlie, trying to get out of the explosion of a temporal bomb. And there's a scene in which like everything is like scattered, but thanks to an amazing coincidence, the Doctor had preset the TARDIS settings so that they would reinfigure back together again. During this scene, Mina, I'm just going to call her Mina because obviously, Mina is like, I seen your other faces, your other selves, and the Doctor's like, oh, it must be a side effect of the temporal bomb. Yeah, and then the Doctor's like, did you see white hair, a mop, white curly hair, and a big long scarf? I don't think he mentions the fifth Doctor, which is kind of funny, especially when you consider that in the Twin Dilemma, the fifth Doctor stated that he wasn't happy with his fifth incarnation. So that's I find that a bit funny. But after the absolutely amazing Patient Zero, go listen to that one. If not, watch my video. It is a really great story. And the only real thing connecting these stories is that little bit at the start. The entire thing feels like no real connection to its overall plot. And people who know me might be like, Adam, you like that kind of thing. You don't like it like heavy connected. But it's just kind of strange how we have a trilogy where it's not really connected all that much, if that makes any sense. So yeah, and the Doctor basically looks through his emails after Mina was searching through them, trying to look for some sort of information. We don't really know why she was looking at. And she noticed that one of the emails is from a Draconian leader. And the Doctor mentions that, well, he's got to go. The Doctor's got to go. He's one of the noblemen of this particular king. And he doesn't know why he's been invited. Maybe it's because of a birthday or anything like that. So the Doctor and Mina land on this, what they believe is a like a building. It's like a pagoda. I think it's called pagoda anyway. But then they soon realise that they're in space, which is a very strange concept. And we quickly learn, after they get introduced to the Queen and the Prince, is that the King, this Draconian, has passed away. He has died, and he's basically invited the Doctor to his own funeral. Now, I find the whole Draconian stuff, like, the story is, you can clearly see Mark Platt is very interested in the Draconian mythology, and that's why a lot of people like the Draconians. They have this own Chinese-inspired mythology about them, and they have this great fear of like outsiders, but some of them are like they acknowledge that whilst they fear outsiders like the humans fear them. We also get in this story a little backstory that the king once worked with the Doctor, particularly the first Doctor, and something happened, which I can't remember what. Maybe like he lost a game of like chess or something. But this king kind of became a little bit depressed, and so he barricaded. Oh no, it was a plague. There was a plague. It might be a virus. I don't know. It was strange because there was a mention of a plague, and you expect it right. It's going to be one of the viruses. I mean, Patient Zero left the last story quite literally with a bang. But no, the viruses never really get a mention. And so what happened then is that this draconian king basically locked themselves away from the rest of the world, rest of the universe. So they don't get in contact with their allies. They basically shelve themselves off from the rest of the galaxy society. We also get this, I kind of think it's actually a pretty cool concept. The king's graveyard, their tombs, are up in space, basically like hovering over their planet. And they call these heavens. So when they say when they die, they go up into heaven, they quite literally mean they put the bodies up into these pagodans and live in heaven, in quite literally heaven, and people can actually then just alive can go and see their relatives in heaven, and that's the concept of it. But I think where this story really suffers, there's some great characters. You've got this fisherman that Mina befriends, and they have a lot of great dynamic, and the doctor's trying to work out the political issues of the prince who's trying to become a king, the next king, but people keep getting disappearing, and that's all like nice and well, but basically we get loads of scenes where characters are just dumping us with exposition and their backstories. Like the fisherman goes into his gigantic backstory about how like he was once a noble fisherman, but then the high ruling class got him out of a job, and that takes ages, and the plot keeps stopping for character beats, and the good character beats, don't get me wrong, these are nicely developed characters, but the issue is that each time we do get these character beats, everything just stops for this particular moment, and it does kind of feel a bit forced, as if the writer Mark Platt is going, look, be interested in this character. He is an interesting character. Look how interesting he is. Look at all this backstory he has. Ooh, look at that. How cool is that? And like every story, people's motivators change, mainly between the Queen and her son. And you kind of don't really get a reading on them. You don't know who's the bad guy or the good guy. The story actually starts off with at the king's basically like his tomb, and they questioning each other to see if each of them they suspect each other of killing him, or at least up in the conversation anyway. Like the Queen suspects that, and they're not really concerned that their father has just died, but rather that more about the succession and the leadership. So you don't get good reading on this, and it keeps the story kind of interesting in a way. But again, there's an issue of when we do get plot, for the little moments that we do, when we get these plots, which we get like a little bit of these plots, there's just so much going on, and characters just constantly flicker through whether they're good or not, but it's really hard to just keep a focus on this story. And to be honest, I did kind of zone out because I couldn't really follow the plot. Sometimes it seems like one character's the baddie and everybody is working against them, and suddenly it's like everybody's a goodie, and I don't know, I don't know. But Mina, while talking to this fisherman, she interacts with a paper warrior, a warrior that's designed to look like a shiogami thing, or on the front cover there, like a paper warrior, which is really cool. And these things don't speak, and you kind of hear just like the paper flickering. The Doctor also discovers a murder, as somebody has been hacked up and cut up for various reasons, and the only little bit of evidence is that there's a little piece of paper on the floor. And so Mina and the Doctor reunite, and they discuss what's happening and everything that's going on. And the stuff with the paper men seems like a really cool idea. These mysterious warrior figures that just come out of nowhere and seemingly murder people with their razor sharp, or should I say paper sharp swords, which comes in the title Paper Cuts. And I think would have been a really good story if we just had like this warrior just stomping around. But I think the story tries to become more complicated than it really deserves. And don't get me wrong, I really like complicated stories. I mean, Mark Platt, again, another Mark Platt story, Ghostlight is one of my favourite stories. But what makes that story work so well, and I think what makes this story so weak, is that the difference is that the very high details isn't what makes the complicated aspects so interesting. It's the atmosphere, this mood, this feeling you get that you are stumbling onto something which you weren't even meant to understand. But here you never get that impression, and it feels more convoluted for the sakes of convoluted, as the Doctor, Amina, and the rest of the crew try to break into the King's room, his tomb. And when they go in there, they find other paper soldiers, but these ones are red. It's also important to note that this king was they have like dynasties, and they have like in different shades of colour. So you've got like the blue dynasty, the yellow dynasty, and the red king, the king of the Draconians, was a red king. And so originally they think that these paper cut characters are going to kill them. However, it turns out they're more, the red ones are more friendly as they start attacking the white ones, and a small war kind of breaks out. And for a while, really the story does kind of have these big character moments, which, like I said, really stops the plot for the majority of the story, and nothing really comes up apart from getting characters to A to B to A to B to A to B to A to B, and it is kind of dull in my opinion. I wonder if this is a very popular one. I haven't really heard much people talk about this one. I wonder if other people really enjoyed it. I can imagine somebody enjoying it. I mean, it's a Draconian story, but personally for me it just wasn't doing anything. We do get a little scene in which, I think it's at the start of part 3, where Mina is talking to the fisherman about her backstory, and she's stating that she doesn't remember who she was. She was experimented on, and her memory was lost, and only her name. She first says Mina, And then the fisherman's like, what? Charlie, my name is Charlie Pollard. And then I went looking for the doctor, and here I am, and I have no memory prior to that. So, and we also get like little flashbacks of Prisoner Zero, where you hear the Daleks experimenting on her and her escaping. So that was a really cool little nod to the previous story. But it has really no bearing on this story. Not to say that's a bad thing, I'm just pointing that out. And then somewhere down the line, we later learn that the king, this should be a spoiler, I guess. Spoiler warning, yeah, I don't really care. The king is actually alive. And that every king in this pagoda in space, this heaven, is alive. And it turns out that since the very first dynasty of the Draconians, they've worked out this technology that they can basically slow the people's metabolism so slowly that they're basically walking, talking, well, I say talking, zombies. And what's really cool about that is that there's this little plot point in the story of this like psychic, oh my god, psychic paper. It has just occurred to me that there's psychic paper in this. Paper, you basically have like paper on the wall, and it can read minds and show people images that they want to show. So basically they can use it as a psychic PowerPoint presentation. The Doctor uses it at one point to prove that he is the same Doctor that met them so many years ago. And this king, he uses the paper to write some information down. And basically what they learn is that these soldiers, these paper warriors, are actually just toys. And that it's this entire thing, this entire setup was just to entertain each of the kings as they play like this like live chess, sort of like the ending of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. But however, the humans or the Draconians, our main characters, somehow get involved, and we learn that there was only ever one White King, the most powerfulest of them all, the first ever king of Draconia, who was feared among all of Draconia. And so whilst everybody's playing this game, they all kind of worship the White King, the White Warrior. And so the Doctor tries to plead with them to try and tries to talk to them. I'm trying to remember what happens later after that. It's really bad. I remember that the Doctor does this really great speech on how you shouldn't be feared of this White King. There's only one of him and more of you. And all the houses and all these different coloured soldiers then all attack the White Warriors, and that the blue ones then push the Doctor into a different room where he's meeting everybody. It's later revealed that the mother character is behind all this. She's the one that's resurrecting or keeping everybody alive in this state of after death. We get a scene where the Doctor's asking the King, did you die and get resurrected? Were you at the moment of your death? Or was this forced against your will? You've got to choose. Do you want to live or do you want to die after this event? But you don't make me choose. And first of all, we get a great moment where it's like, I want to win the game. It's like, oh, okay, I'm glad you said that. We can go in and fight. However, the rest of them don't know whether they want to live or die. So they do kind of put it on the Doctor, and the Doctor is torn between killing them in pity or letting them live in torture. I'm trying to remember what happens after that. I think the king, the prince, dies, and the king secretly reveals in his state of death that he wanted his secret soldier. I can't remember who was. I don't think it was the fisherman. Oh, my God, this one's. I'm really struggling with this one, I will admit. Most of the information that you probably heard, and this is probably not even accurate to the actual adventure. That's pretty bad in my part. I do apologise. Yeah, so to wrap up, basically, they kill the prince and they kill the queen, and so the Doctor states that they're going to have to hire a new monarchy, and that they will have to then start getting allies from outside of their home planet to allow peace and prosperity throughout the kingdom. And the Doctor and Charlie head off to Earth. In a very interesting point, the Doctor states that, do you want to go back to Earth the long way around? A catchphrase which would be used during the 2013 story, The Day of the Doctor. This story came out in 2009, so that was 4 years prior. So that's an interesting parallel there. And so that's Paper Cuts. Overall, I think it's a pretty weak story. I thought it could have been a lot better. The pacing, I think, is the real main issue here. It seems like this story, it separates the plot and the characters into two different corners, and it focuses on one at a time and does kind of struggle with its plot, and it gets kind of convoluted, and it just kind of lost me, really, to be honest. But yeah, not more to say, don't really recommend this one. I think you could easily skip this one if you were interested in the meaner stuff, and you want to get as least amount of stuff as possible because you're cheap. I'd say skip this one. So that's Paper Cuts. So join me next time where we will conclude this trilogy, and we will also conclude the Charlie Sixth Doctor era as they land on Earth as the Virons come out to get people. So I'll see you next time for Blue Forgotten Planet. And I'll see you next time on the Doctor Who Marathon. Ta-ra.